They didn't plan to explain that much. They were just answering a question, clarifying a thought, giving context. But one sentence turned into 5, then a backstory, then an explanation for something no one even questioned. And halfway through, they realized they were doing it again. Over-explaining. Not because they like talking, not because they need attention, but because silence feels unsafe. Because silence leaves room for assumptions. Today, we're talking about the psychology of people who over-explain themselves and what that habit is really trying to protect. What over-explaining really is. Over-explaining isn't about talking too much. Most people who over-explain actually wish they could say less. They replay conversations afterward. They cringe at how much they shared. They wish they'd stopped sooner. So this isn't a personality trait. It's a nervous system response. Over-explaining happens when communication stops being neutral and starts being emotional protection. It sounds like, I just want to be clear. I don't want this to come across wrong. I didn't mean it that way. But underneath that is something deeper. I don't want to be misunderstood. I don't want to be misjudged. I don't want conflict. Over-explaining isn't excess, it's defense. Where the pattern begins. This habit almost never starts in adulthood. It forms early, in homes where intent was questioned, tone was scrutinized, or feelings required justification. Maybe you learned that being brief led to assumptions, or silence led to blame. So you adapted. You explained your emotions. You clarified your intent. You learned to make things make sense before anyone could misunderstand you. And over time, that explanation became automatic, not a choice, a reflex. The core belief driving it. At the center of over-explaining is a belief most people don't realize they hold. If I don't explain myself fully, I'll be seen incorrectly. And for many people, being seen incorrectly wasn't harmless. It led to arguments, withdrawal, punishment, or emotional distance. So clarity became survival. Not just clarity, control over interpretation. Why silence feels threatening. For people who over-explain, silence isn't peaceful. It's loaded. Because silence creates space for someone else's story, someone else's assumption, someone else's narrative. So they fill it. They clarify early. They justify preemptively. They explain before being questioned. Not because they want control, but because they're trying to prevent harm. Fear of misrepresentation. Here's something important. Most over-explainers aren't afraid of judgment. They're afraid of being misrepresented, of being reduced to a version of themselves that isn't accurate, of having good intentions misread as something else. So they add detail, context, disclaimers. They're not trying to convince, they're trying to be precise. Why stress makes it worse. You'll notice this habit intensifies when emotions are involved, when the stakes feel high, when relationships matter. Because stress activates memory. It pulls from moments where being unclear caused damage, or explanation was the only thing that kept the peace. So under pressure, the brain says, explain more, clarify again, don't leave gaps. The people-pleaser overlap. Over-explaining often overlaps with people-pleasing, not because someone lacks boundaries, but because they care deeply about impact. They don't want to upset. They don't want to offend. They don't want to inconvenience. So they explain decisions to soften them, even when no explanation is required. The after shame. Afterward, many people replay the moment. Why did I say all that? I should have stopped talking. I sounded insecure. That shame doesn't come from explaining itself. It comes from realizing they tried to earn understanding instead of trusting it. What healing looks like. Healing doesn't mean becoming silent. It means learning this. You don't owe everyone clarity. You don't owe everyone context. Sometimes being misunderstood by the wrong people isn't failure. It's information. If you over-explain yourself, it doesn't mean you lack confidence. It means clarity once kept you safe. But you don't have to exhaust yourself to be understood. The people meant to hear you don't need the extra explanation. Sometimes saying exactly what you mean and stopping there is enough.
But there's another layer to over-explaining that often goes unnoticed. Over-explaining isn't just about words, it's about responsibility. People who over-explain often feel responsible for how others feel, how others react, and how situations unfold. They carry an unspoken belief: if something goes wrong, it must be because I didn't explain well enough. So they keep talking, not to be heard, but to prevent damage. Over time, this creates a quiet pressure. A pressure to anticipate reactions, to predict misunderstandings, to manage outcomes before they happen. They don't just communicate, they brace. Every sentence becomes a precaution, and slowly, that weight adds up. There's also a reason over-explaining often shows up around authority figures or emotionally unpredictable people. Because when power feels uneven, clarity feels like protection. You explain your tone so it won't be misread, your intent so it won't be questioned, your reasoning so it won't be challenged. Not because you owe it, but because you learned that being misunderstood could cost you something. And here's the part many people don't realize. Over-explaining can actually create the opposite effect of what you want. Instead of sounding clear, it can make you sound uncertain. Not because you are, but because constant justification signals doubt. It subtly tells the other person, I don't fully trust my words to stand on their own. And that can feel frustrating, especially when you do know what you mean. This is why over-explainers often feel smaller over time. Not louder, not dominant, smaller. Because each explanation shrinks their sense of permission to simply exist without justification, to state, to choose, to feel, without defending it. Another quiet truth. People who over-explain are often deeply self-aware. They think carefully, they reflect, they consider nuance. And somewhere along the way, that awareness turned inward and became self-monitoring. Instead of asking, is this true for me? They started asking, will this make sense to everyone else? That shift is subtle, but powerful. Healing this pattern doesn't mean swinging to the other extreme. It doesn't mean becoming abrupt, dismissive, or emotionally closed. It means learning discernment. Learning when explanation is connection and when it's self-abandonment. Learning that clarity can be offered, not compulsively given. A helpful question to pause on is this: am I explaining to be understood or explaining to be accepted? Because those are very different needs. Understanding is mutual. Acceptance doesn't require proof. When you start allowing yourself to speak one sentence less, something interesting happens. You create space. And in that space, you begin to see who leans in and who demands more, who listens and who interrogates, who offers benefit of the doubt and who withholds it. That information is valuable because the right people don't need every detail to trust your heart. They don't need footnotes to respect your choices. They don't need a disclaimer to give you grace. And anyone who does is asking you to work harder than connection requires. If over-explaining once kept you safe, honor that. It helped you survive. It helped you stay connected when things felt uncertain. But you're allowed to update the strategy. You're allowed to rest inside your words, to say what you mean, to pause, to stop, and let that be enough. Sometimes the growth isn't in saying more. It's in trusting that what you've already said is sufficient, and allowing silence to do what it was never allowed to do before. Hold you instead of threatening you.